Okay, let's dive deep into something that, well, it feels like the ultimate mystery for so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
Love and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Often talked about as this magical force, something you either have or you don't, maybe totally out of your control.
Right, like catching lightning in a bottle.
Exactly.
Mm.
But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if there was actually a structure to it all?
Mm-hmm.
What if it was something you could, understand and maybe even get better at navigating?
That's precisely the fascinating premise of the material we're exploring today.
Okay.
We're drawing from excerpts of Dr. L. Michael Hall's book, Games Great Lovers Play.
Right.
And he takes these models, things like NLP and neurosemantics, tools often used for communication or personal change,
Yeah, I've heard of those.
and he applies them directly to how we date, how we relate, how we form those really deep bonds.
Interesting. So our mission here in this deep dive is to sort of unpack the key insights, the practical stuff, from this perspective.
Exactly, to help you, the listener, maybe lift the veil a bit on the structure of love.
See them less as like unpredictable forces
Right.
and more as, well, the book calls them games, right? Games you're already playing. But maybe understanding the rules gives you more power, more choice.
Precisely. It starts with this really core idea. Our experience of love, of connection, it isn't just random, it's shaped, deeply shaped by our inner world.
Our beliefs, values,
Uh,
that kind of thing.
yeah, our beliefs, our values, our understandings, even our expectations. These are what the book calls our frames.
Frames. Okay.
And these frames, they basically dictate the game we're playing in any relationship, any interaction.
Got it. So the actions, the things we actually do with our partner, that's the outer game.
That's the outer game, yeah. Your behaviors, how you show up.
But the reason we play that specific game,
Mm-hmm.
that comes from the inner game, the frames.
That's it, exactly. Your frames set the stage. They define what's important, what's allowed, what's off limits in that particular game.
Right.
And the book makes this really crucial point. You don't get to decide if you play games in relationships. You already are.
We're always playing some game.
Always. Every interaction is a game, defined by those underlying frames. So the real question becomes, which games are you playing? Are you aware of them?
And critically, are they actually working for both people involved?
Exactly. Because if your frames are, say, limiting or based on old hurts or misunderstandings, they can drive what the material calls toxic games.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Well, imagine a frame like, if anything goes wrong, it's automatically my fault.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
That frame fuels an over-responsible game. Or maybe you have a frame like, there's just too much going on, I'm overwhelmed.
Uh-huh. Leads to the stress game, maybe?
Yeah,
Pushing connection away?
precisely. Or the classic, I know I'm right and you just need to admit you're wrong. That powers the really destructive blame game.
Yeah, that one sounds familiar.
And the point is, these aren't just, bad habits. They actually stem from those deeper internal frames.
So if we want to shift, if we want to play great lover games instead of toxic ones, where do we start?
The source points to the absolute foundation. The first essential dance, really, in building any real connection. Deep, genuine listening.
Listening. Okay, sounds simple enough, but I suspect it's harder than it sounds.
Oh, it is. The material contrasts this deep listening with something it calls defensive listening.
Defensive listening.
And we all do it, right? It's when you're listening, but your main goal is figuring out your reply.
Yeah, preparing your counter-argument.
Or defending yourself or looking for weaknesses in what they're saying so you can shoot it down. You're filtering everything through your own stuff, your past, your beliefs.
Your autobiography, as the book puts it.
Exactly. And the real challenge, the hitch, is that true listening. It requires opening up your own boundaries.
Getting out of your own head.
Yeah, stepping out from behind your own perspective for a moment and genuinely trying to step into their world. It's vulnerable. It takes focus.
Which leads to the seeking first to understand game. Is that the idea?
That's the core of it. Setting the frame that right now, understanding the other person is the #1 goal.
Okay.
It means really valuing their perspective, making it a conscious aim, and actually practicing the skills, like empathic listening.
To really grasp their map of the world, their internal landscape.
Yes, their matrix of beliefs and values and understandings. Before you try to make them understand you, seek first to understand.
That makes sense. And speaking of understanding their map,
Yeah.
the material talks about attraction and love. right? Not just as random sparks.
Right. It suggests that love actually flows from valuing, we're drawn to, and we connect more deeply with the behaviors and qualities we genuinely value in someone else.
Okay, valuing.
Yeah.
But here's the crucial bit, I imagine. What you value might be totally different from what they value or what makes them feel valued.
That is the absolute critical takeaway. You have to understand what actually counts as valuing or as love for your partner.
Because what feels like a huge gesture to you,
Might mean nothing to them. Or worse, could even feel like pressure. Your map of what love looks like is almost certainly different from theirs.
okay, so how do you figure that out? This leads to the love strategy idea.
Exactly. The book proposes that each of us has an internal, often unconscious sequence, a kind of recipe involving specific sensory inputs.
Seeing, hearing, feeling.
Yeah. Things you need to see someone do, things you need to hear them say, or a certain tone, maybe a specific kind of touch, or just physical presence when those specific inputs happen in the right way.
Boom. You feel totally loved.
That's the idea. It triggers that deep feeling for you.
So figuring out your own strategy is useful for self-awareness.
Definitely. Gives you control over your own state.
But figuring out your partner's strategy,
That's like being handed the keys to the kingdom.
right? It's not about guessing anymore or just doing what you would like.
No, it's about intentionally hitting their specific internal buttons that mean love in their unique world. It's incredibly powerful.
Wow. Okay. And this ties into another game. The emotional bank account.
Directly. Think of your relationship like a joint account, right?
Makes sense.
You make deposits with positive interactions, things that build trust and connection, and you make withdrawals with negative ones.
So deposits are what? Compliments? Favors?
They can be, but it includes things like simple courtesy, being honest, truly listening without judging like we just talked about, expressing affection in ways that they perceive as affection.
Ah, back to their love strategy again.
Exactly. And crucially, keeping your commitments. Integrity. That's a huge deposit.
And the flip side, withdrawals are obvious things like yelling, breaking promises.
Yes, but also more subtle things. And here's a kicker, just like the love strategy.
Let me guess. What counts as a deposit or withdrawal is subjective.
Bingo. It's determined by the receiver's perception, not the giver's intention.
So you could think you're doing something great for them.
Making a massive deposit in your mind. But if it doesn't land that way for them, it might actually be a withdrawal or just
Right.
neutral.
Yep.
Didn't count.
Well, okay. That's huge. The book has an example of this, right? Tim and Susie.
Yeah, it's a good illustration. Susie gives Tim a list of things she feels would be deposits for her. Things she wants him to do.
Okay. Seems straightforward.
So Tim starts doing them, ticking off the boxes dutifully,
Right.
but how he did them mattered. Maybe it felt perfunctory, without warmth, without real connection, just going through the motions.
So even though he did the things on the list,
They didn't feel like gifts or deposits to Susie. They felt like chores he was just getting out of the way.
ouch. So her perception was that it wasn't a genuine deposit,
Exactly. The perception of the receiver is everything in this game.
which really underlines the importance of integrity you mentioned. Keeping your word.
Absolutely foundational. Failing to do what you say you'll do, or even just having unclear expectations that lead to misunderstandings, those are massive withdrawals. They erode trust.
The bedrock of the relationship.
Right. And when you do mess up, because we all do,
Yeah.
the source stresses that genuinely owning it, sincerely apologizing, that's how you start making deposits again and rebuilding that trust.
Okay, so we've talked about understanding their world, their love strategy, the bank account. What about dealing with differences? Because similarities connect us, but differences, they can be tough.
They can be, but the material suggests differences are also what create excitement and vibrancy, right? The challenge isn't to eliminate differences, but to learn to appreciate them, to value and validate them instead of judging or fearing them.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Definitely. And this is where another powerful reframing tool comes in. It's called the "there's always a positive intention" game.
Positive intention, even behind like really difficult behavior.
The premise is that behind almost any behavior, no matter how frustrating or upsetting it seems to us, the person doing it usually has some kind of positive intention for themselves in that moment.
Okay, explain that. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's not about saying the behavior is okay. It's about shifting your own frame to try and understand the underlying driver for them. What need were they trying to meet? What value were they trying to uphold, even if they went about it badly?
So seeking that positive intention helps you kind of listen differently.
Yeah, listen with the third ear, as the source puts it. Look beyond the surface words or actions to the deeper frames that are running the show for them at that moment.
That sounds challenging,
Yeah,
especially when you're feeling hurt yourself.
it is challenging,
Yeah.
but it can be a key to unlocking understanding and finding a different way to respond.
Okay. So understanding intentions, valuing differences, this leads naturally into communication skills, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Building rapport, that fundamental sense of connection, of being on the same wavelength, is vital.
And the book talks about pacing. What's that?
Pacing is a specific skill.
Mm.
It involves subtly, respectfully matching elements of your partner's communication style.
Like how?
It could be their language patterns. Do they talk in terms of pictures, sounds, feelings? You might gently mirror some of that. It could be matching their energy level a bit, or even some nonverbal cues like posture or breathing rate, though you have to be careful not to mimic.
And the point is,
The point is to consciously step out of your own default way of being and communicating and intentionally enter their world for a moment. It builds that bridge, that feeling of we get each other.
so it's a tool for connection. And it helps with that map listening you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. You use skills like pacing and active listening specifically to seek out and understand their unique mental map, their matrix of values, beliefs, how they see the world.
And when it's our turn to speak, any tips there?
The source emphasizes being strategic, which sounds a bit calculating, but it just means being mindful.
Mindful of what?
Being clear on your intent. What outcome are you actually aiming for with this communication? That's your strategy. Having the necessary skill, can you actually express yourself effectively to achieve that intent? And choosing your language patterns carefully.
Language patterns, again, like visual, auditory, kinesthetic.
Yeah, speaking in a way that's more likely to resonate with how they process information can make a big difference in being truly heard.
Okay. And there's something about just asking directly.
Oh, yes, the art of asking. It sounds so simple, but think about how much relationship frustration comes from hinting.
Or expecting your partner to be a mind reader.
Exactly. Or just assuming they know what you want or need. The book uses this great analogy. Ordering in a fast food place.
Right. You don't hint you might like fries.
No, you just say, I'd like fries, please. Clear. Direct. The suggestion is we need to do that more in relationships. State clearly what you want. And just as importantly, directly ask your partner what they want. Stop the guessing games.
Simple but powerful. Okay, stepping back a bit.
Yeah.
The material also talks about getting in sync on deeper levels, beyond just communication style.
Yeah, it touches on things like recognizing differences in, say, biological rhythms. Are you a morning person? Are they a night owl? Or even more fundamental ways people process the world.
And this is where meta programs come in. That sounds complex.
It can seem that way, but the concept is pretty useful. Think of meta programs as like high-level filters or operating preferences in someone's mind. Default settings for how they sort information and operate.
Okay, like what kind of settings?
Well, things like, how do they motivate themselves? Are they moving towards a goal? Or primarily motivated by moving away from problems? How do they process information? Do they need the big picture first or all the details?
I know people like that.
Right. How do they make decisions based on their own internal feeling, or do they need external validation? What kind of words do they favor? Words about necessity, must, have to, possibility, can, might, or desire, want, love to? How do they recharge their energy alone or with people?
Introvert, extrovert type thing.
That's one common example, yeah. And recognizing these isn't about sticking labels on people.
No, okay.
It's about understanding how they operate differently from you. So if your partner needs quiet time alone to recharge and you understand that's their meta program for energy.
You don't take it personally as rejection.
Exactly. You see, it's just how they're wired.
Yeah.
Appreciating these differences through this lens can seriously reduce conflict and boost empathy. You meet them more effectively in their model of the world.
So it's about the how, not just the what.
Precisely. And understanding these patterns in your partner, sure, but also critically in yourself, brings us right back to self-mastery.
Running your own brain.
That's the phrase the book uses. The real power here isn't just analyzing others, it's understanding your own internal landscape, your frames, your states, your metaprograms, because with that understanding comes the ability to manage your own thinking and feeling, to choose the frames that serve you better.
Okay, so if we build that self-mastery, that understanding, How does that help form the actual bond in a relationship?
Well, bonding itself is described in this framework as a psychological process. It's about opening up your internal self, your ego boundaries.
Letting someone in.
Yes, bringing someone or even an experience or an idea into your internal world, making it part of you, identifying with it to some degree.
And the opposite is disbonding.
Right, which is that often painful process of having to expel something from your internal world that's become hurtful or just isn't part of you anymore, like after a breakup or a major loss.
Okay. Now, there's a paradox mentioned, right, about dependence and independence.
Yes, a really crucial one. We start life totally dependent. Then, ideally, we develop a healthy sense of independence.
Mm.
But true, healthy adult bonding isn't about staying independent, nor is it about reverting to dependence. It requires moving into interdependence.
Interdependence, okay.
Right.
But that step of independence first is key.
Absolutely vital. The material talks about the centering or grounding game. You need to establish a solid, secure sense of your own self, your own strength first.
So love isn't about finding someone to complete you.
Definitely not in this model. Healthy bonding is about giving from your resources, sharing your fullness, not trying to get something from the other person to feel okay or fill your own emptiness.
If you're looking for someone to fix you.
The book bluntly suggests you might be looking for a therapist, not a lover. Harsh, maybe, but the point is clear.
So interdependence is built on that solid foundation of each person being relatively independent and self-sufficient first.
Yes, it's a state of mutual, reciprocal responsibility. You choose to rely on each other, to depend on each other in certain ways, but it comes from a place of desire and strength, not desperate neediness.
And trust is huge here. Trustworthiness, accountability.
Key markers of healthy interdependence.
There was another example case, Janet and John. How did that illustrate this?
Yeah, briefly, Janet's deep neediness was experienced by John as clinging. It was putting a huge strain on the relationship.
Okay.
And the shift, the solution, wasn't about John changing to meet her needs better. It was about Janet doing her own inner work.
Building her own independence.
Exactly. Building her internal resources, her sense of self-love and self-appreciation. The source mentions specific inner work patterns, like NLP techniques, aimed at creating a more resourceful self-image or accessing a feeling of core self-worth, separate from John's validation.
So by becoming more independent, she enabled a healthier, more interdependent dynamic with John.
That was the key. Shifting from neediness to shared strength.
Makes sense. But even in strong, interdependent relationships, challenges happen, right? People get hurt.
Oh, absolutely. The material is clear. Deep connection involves vulnerability. So the experience of hurt is almost built in. It's inevitable sometimes. The challenge is how you navigate it.
So conflict isn't necessarily bad.
Not necessarily. The goal isn't to avoid conflict altogether, but to learn the healthy fight game.
Okay, what does a healthy fight look like?
It means working through the disagreement respectfully. The aim isn't to win, but to reach a win-win outcome where both people feel heard, understood, and the relationship actually comes out stronger.
Easier said than done. What are some key skills for that?
Well, avoiding blame is huge. Blame just triggers defensiveness. Using I statements is classic but effective. I feel X when Y happens rather than you always do Z.
Taking responsibility for your own feelings.
Exactly. Also, learning when and how to call a timeout. Recognizing when things are escalating and agreeing to pause, cool down, and come back to it later before things get damaging.
That takes maturity.
It does, and maybe the biggest shift is reframing the purpose of the conflict. Fight to deepen understanding, not just to prove you're right or vent frustration.
Deepen understanding. I like that. Now, the material flags something as a major trap. Expectations.
Yes, this is presented as potentially lethal for relationships. And it's important how it's defined here. It's not about having hopes or desires. No, expectations are framed as rigid demands, rules, shoulds that you impose on your partner or the relationship.
Oh, okay. Like, you should know what I want.
Exactly. Or a loving partner should always. When you operate from that kind of expectation, even if your partner does something positive, it doesn't feel like a gift anymore.
It just feels like they met the minimum requirement.
Right. Or worse, you focus on where they didn't meet the expectation. It breeds disappointment and resentment, fueling what the book calls the downward spiral in game.
So what's the antidote? Just have no standards.
Not no standards, but rather actively release those rigid expectations. Go back to genuinely valuing and appreciating your partner for who they are right now, flaws and all.
And focus on the positive.
And focus on intentionally making those deposits into their emotional bank account, doing things that, count for them, but doing it from a place of generosity, expecting nothing specific in return. Give freely.
That's a significant mental shift, dropping the demands.
It is. The book also mentions thresholding. What's that?
Thresholding is basically reaching your limit, hitting a point where a painful pattern becomes unbearable.
The breaking point. Sort of. It's a signal, not necessarily that the relationship is over, but that something fundamental, a game, a frame, just isn't working anymore and needs to change drastically.
Okay, so bringing it all together, the material moves towards conscious loving. What does that entail?
It's about moving off autopilot. It's about actively, intentionally together, co-creating a shared vision for your relationship. A preferred future, as the book calls it.
Like being co-leaders of your relationship.
Exactly. Taking the helm together.
And this involves responsibility.
Yes. Mutual co-created responsibility. This is key. In a conscious, loving bond, both partners fully accept responsibility for their own stuff. Their thoughts, feelings, words, actions.
Okay, owning your own side of the street.
Precisely. And this is crucial. They willingly invite the other person to hold them accountable. Accountable to the shared relationship goals, accountable to each other in a supportive way.
That requires a lot of trust.
It does. And it ties into seeing the relationship as a system, recognizing that behavior doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right, it's influenced by lots of things: health, stress, history, beliefs.
Exactly. Which helps you move beyond simplistic linear blaming. You start to see how you always participate in and contribute to whatever dynamic or outcome is happening in the relationship.
You're part of the system too.
Always. So the ultimate power, the big takeaway from this whole perspective seems to be this. By consciously choosing your internal frames.
The rules of your inner game.
By learning to manage your own internal states, your emotions, your focus, and by taking full responsibility for your responses.
You actively shape the quality of your relationship.
You are powerfully shaping it. You're not just a passive recipient of love. You are co-creating my experience moment by moment, game by game, frame by frame.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and bring this back home for everyone listening.
Yeah.
The core idea here really is that love, it's not just some mysterious fog. It actually has a structure.
A structure built on these internal frames that then play out as these relational games.
And since we're always playing some kind of game,
the power isn't in stopping the games, but in becoming a conscious player.
Becoming aware, noticing the games and the frames that are running right now in your own relationship.
Yeah, asking yourself,
Yeah.
Are these actually working? Are they serving me? Are they serving us?
And with that awareness comes choice. The choice to intentionally shift, to maybe try playing more empowering games.
Exactly.
So we'd really encourage you, if this resonates, to maybe play with these ideas. Think of them as love experiments.
I like that. Love experiments.
Could you identify maybe one potentially toxic game you sometimes play?
Yeah.
What might be the underlying frame driving it?
Or could you try to figure out your own love strategy? What really makes you feel loved?
Yeah.
Maybe even gently explore your partners.
Yeah, or just start consciously noticing the deposits and withdrawals in your emotional bank account. But crucially, try to see them from their likely perspective, not just yours.
These are all practical ways to start applying this.
Definitely. And maybe leave you with this final thought to mull over.
Okay.
If the quality of your relationship really does arise from the quality of your responses, and those responses come directly from your internal states and your frames, what one new frame could you choose to install starting today that might fundamentally shift the game you're playing in your love life?